Today in Algebra 1, we talked about one-step equations using addition and subtraction. Our first vocabulary word is inverse operation. And an inverse operation is an opposite operation, or ones that undo each other. For instance, if I'm talking about adding, the inverse is to subtract. Or if I'm talking about subtracting, the inverse is to add. We have a goal when we're solving one-step equations. That's not a definition, but it's something we need to keep in mind. The goal is to isolate the variable. Isolate the variable. And isolate just means get something by itself. So we want to get the variable or the letter on one side all by itself. And then we talked some about the golden rule. And we compared that to the golden rule of life, which is do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. But we talked about it in the sense of math, which is what you do to one side of the equation you do to the other. And when we're talking about the other side of the equation, the thing that separates an equation is the equal sign. So that would be into the two sides. Okay, we looked at a couple of examples. Number 1 was that x minus 10 equals 4. And we wanted to use the inverse. So we're going to find our variable, which in this case is x. We're trying to isolate it or get it by itself. So what's happening to x is it's being subtracted by 10. The opposite of subtract is add, so we're going to add 10. What we do to one side, we're going to do to the other side of the equation. Negative 10 and 10 cancel each other. And I have x on this side, and 4 plus 10 is 14. So x is equal to 14. And that's my first answer. Example number 2. If you'll pause just 1 second, I'm going to be sure that I have the right examples for you. Okay, 2/5 equals m minus 1/5. Okay, 2/5 equals m minus 1/5. Our variable's m, that's what we're trying to isolate. The 1/5 is being subtracted. The opposite of subtract is add. So I'm going to add 1/5 to both sides. 2/5 plus 1/5 has a common denominator of 5. 2 plus 1 is 3, so m equals 3/5. And that's my answer. Example number 3. If I have d plus 7 equals 9. Okay, this time it's plus. D is my variable. To isolate it, I'm going to do the inverse. The opposite of add is subtract. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. And on the first side I have d, and on the second side I have 9 minus 7, which is 2. The last example I want to look at, example number 4, is 0.7 equals x plus 0.4. If I want to get x by itself, it's being added by 0.4. The opposite is to subtract 0.4. On this side I have x. On the other side I have 0.7 minus 0.4, which is 0.3. And that is my final answer. If you have questions, be sure to ask them when you get back into class. Good luck, and let me know.